Good morning. I once heard a story about a boy with only one arm. Now, for whatever reason, this boy had his heart set on becoming a judo champion, in spite of the fact that he didn't have a left arm. Now, the local sensei took one look at him and sent him away. But the boy kept coming back every day until the old judo master decided to take up the challenge of training the poor lad. From day one, the trainer taught his new student one move and one move only. He made the boy practice this move over and over and over for hours and hours every single day until he completely mastered it. Then he made him practice some more. Months passed by, but no matter how good the boy got, the sensei never taught him any new moves, just the same one, over and over and over. One day, the judo instructor announced that he was entering his one-armed student into the annual tournament. Now, at this point, the young lad was wondering whether his old mentor was getting a bit soft in the head, but without a word of protest, he entered the competition, secretly hoping someone would knock him out early and spare him the embarrassment. To his surprise, however, he won his first two bouts rather easily. Suddenly, before he knew it, our one-armed friend was in the quarterfinals. His next fight took a bit longer, but eventually he got inside his opponent's guard and applied his one move with enough accuracy to floor his rather surprised opponent and win a place in the semi-finals. That wasn't easy either. His much bigger and far more experienced opponent landed a few painful points before losing concentration for one crucial second. That was all our boy needed. He stepped forward, applied his one move, and brought down his giant opponent with an almighty thud. And just like that, our boy was in the final. That turned out to be an epic battle. The one-armed boy took a serious beating, but somehow managed to stay on his feet. Now, in the final round, the boy endured the pummeling of his life, but eventually he got close enough to his opponent, grabbed him with his one hand, and just as he had practiced 1,000,000 times, threw him over his hip and pinned the reigning champion to the mat. After several seconds of futile resistance from his stunned opponent, the referee finally called it, and the boy with one arm was the new champion. On their way home, the still stunned boy asked his instructor, "Sensei, tell me how I just won a national judo tournament with one move." The old master smiled and said, "Well, first of all, you were very brave. You took a beating from some very scary opponents and worked really hard to stay on your feet. But most importantly, the move I taught you can only be countered by grabbing the attacker's left arm. And of course, you don't have a left arm, do you?" So what's the moral of the story? It's simple, really. Every weakness can be turned into a strength, even a disability. When we compare ourselves to those who are doing better than us in our chosen fields, we often come up with several reasons why we are unable to do as well as they. Today, I just want to remind you that under the right circumstances, every single hindrance on that list of yours can be turned into an advantage over your compatriots. In fact, even the fact that people perceive you to be handicapped can be used to your advantage, just as the one-armed fighter did in the tournament. Take me, for instance. I type very slowly, but I make up for it by being quite meticulous. Since I take my time, I take the opportunity to check my work as I go, which means errors are minimized. Now, if I'm going to be handicapped in any way, I might as well make the most of it, right? Handicaps, hindrances, they can sometimes be your strongest weapon. All it takes is a little bravery, a little hard work, along with the ability to spot an opportunity and grab it in a split second, just like our champion. My name is Kojo Yankson, and I was born with nothing. So everything I have now is an advantage, even my weaknesses. Good morning, Ghana.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the AM News. Now, the Ghana Police Service has arrested 40 suspected criminals at Kaswa in the Central Region. The swoop was undertaken by the security agencies early Wednesday as part of efforts to clamp down on criminal activities in the area. It follows numerous complaints by residents about the crime situation in the Ewutu Senya East municipality, which has been widely reported by JoyNews. Traditional authorities had earlier summoned top security officials in the area to answer questions over the residents' complaints. Here's Richard Kojonyaku with the rest of the story.
Authorities at Kaswa say they have taken notice of the happenings in the area. They say the summoning of the security chiefs in the area is a way to find a lasting solution to the developments that have plagued the area. Spokesperson for the Dupont of our Court Traditional Council, Dr. Obinya Kutia, intimated there was a pressing need to deal with the situation before it gets out of hand.
Service commanders, armed robbery, car snatching, motorbike snatching, etc. has become too much. You are the security experts in this municipality. Would like to plead with you to help combat this unfortunate situation. It has become a norm that wherever you go, wherever you pass, you see the stats, you see these unfortunate people harassing people. Nai Odupong sent us here to make it clear to you that what is going on in his municipality is unfortunate and is uncalled for, and it doesn't back it. Therefore, something must be done about it.
The Kaswa Divisional Police Commander, Chief Superintendent Charles Ampim Kosunu, says the police would work hard to address the concerns of the chiefs, and currently 40 suspected criminals have been arrested in a swoop, and the police are after many more of such persons.
The concern they show about crime fighting, this has shown that together we can fight crime, and we have told them what we are doing, the plans we have put in place to fight crime. I told them about the fact that we have increased our Snapchat for both day and night. We have intensified our patrols for about 1 week now, intensive swoops, and a lot of criminals have been arrested. Even this morning, as we are here, some of our commanders are not here. They are on the road continuing the swoop. So far, we have put a lot of things in place to make sure that the crime situation in Kaswa will come down. You know, there are languages in Kaswa. We will do our best to bring the situation under control. And the National Headquarters and the Regional Commander, they have come together and they have given us about 50 personnel. They are coming to stand by 1 month here. After 1 month, they rotate them, and they are here to increase our strength, to increase our strategies, and how we will come together and combat crime.
MC for Kaswa, Michael Yawesuman Mensah, on his part, is asking for the support of residents as they rally round the clock to tackle the challenge. He indicated the Kaswa population keeps growing and there was a need to re-strategize to fight the crime in the area.
The crime is reducing per our records, but crime happens elsewhere and they say it's Kaswa. That is what is confusing the public. However, we have increased our snap checks. More police posts are coming. We're having more than 50 police officers who are coming to assist those already in Kaswa. That somebody is footing the bills of their accommodation and feeding and so on. And so the operation is a continuous process. We are always on it. But I want to assure the citizenry that everybody must go about their duties without fear, because the reportage also put fears in people. We must all go about our duties without fear.
There is currently high security presence at Kaswa as the Regional Police Command has sent more security personnel to deal with the security challenge there. Richard Kojonyaku, JoyNews, Cape Coast.
Now, the Medina-Adenta highway footbridges are finally seeing some good patronage more than a year after they were built. Despite the agitation over the absence of the overhead walkways, they were largely ignored until some security officers were deployed there to compel commuters and pedestrians to use them. Judith Awachitando has been interacting with the reluctant patrons of the walkways who apparently have yet another request to make their commute on the bridges more satisfying.
It's November 2019. Residents along the Medina-Adenta highway massed up on the streets to demand the completion of the footbridges on the route. The protest was triggered by the death of an 18-year-old student of the West African Senior High School who was knocked down while crossing the highway. Government obliged and got contractors working until the walk bridges were completed. The commuters, however, had other reasons for not using them.
The pedestrians say the bridges are too long. It takes them longer to cross the road.
The police but the police
They tell us the bridge is long, so they cross the road to the other side.
Some security officers were deployed to the place to ensure compliance, and that seemed to have done the trick. This is the Medina Highway footbridge. Although it takes a little over 5 minutes fully crossing this bridge, pedestrians here say there has been a significant decline in accidents here.
Apparently, I think it has gone down. Yeah, it has gone down.
It's convenient when you're using it. And then moreover to, you don't get a problem using it. Using the road, crossing the road, using the footbridge helps, it keeps you safe. You know, recently, with the enforcement of the police, it has reduced. The accident has reduced.
Yes, it has reduced. It has reduced, and it is best. Because sometimes I'm a teacher. I wake up early in the morning and then I take a bus to Medina. When I'm crossing, it's very, very risky.
But pedestrians have another request.
I can't lights. I was on here to bridge in this. Lights in this.
There are no lights here, so we can't use the bridge at night. By 7 p.m., robbers come to the bridge, and with its length, how will you save yourself?
There's a base for weed smokers in this area, and at night, they come and sit on this bridge and steal from passerbys. If Manado has been able to construct this bridge, we are pleading with him to ensure our security. Because if you use this bridge at night, an armed robber can stab you.
8, 9, 10. Now be 5 bridge way so ya babo oti kanyakun.
Anajo about 7, 8, 9. Mami akromfo egu ha nyagro.
Around 7 p.m., the robbers here are an eyesore. Who is ensuring that security of those being robbed every day are assured? I'm pleading with government to ensure that we are safe here.
Security
Our only problem now is the light, because at night we are scared to use the bridge.
Apart from light, any problem? But there's more that's been done to maintain orderliness around the footbridges. The Greater Accra Regional Council, for instance, is spearheading the planting of trees and flowers along the road as a permanent solution to the problem. Judith Awachitando, JoyNews.
Commercial transport owners have given their full support of the road toll levy after a meeting with the Select Committee on Roads and Transport in Parliament on Wednesday. The meeting was occasioned by a JoyNews documentary produced by Seth Kwame Boateng. An attempt to implement the levy requiring all vehicle owners to pay an annual mandatory tolling levy was met with fierce protest, forcing government to suspend it in 2017. Elton Bobe was at the meeting and filed this report.
In the last 3 months, over 800 Ghanaians have been killed through road accidents, and the causes have been identified to be the abandonment of broken down vehicles on our highways, lack of education, lack of enforcement, the poor nature of some of our roads. But today, in a unanimous voice, the transport operators say that they are ready to comply with the mandatory towing service. Indeed, they are ready to pay for the vehicles to be towed once they are broken down on our highways. Indeed, one of the issues that came up at this particular meeting called by the Transport Committee of Parliament was the fact that government must also do more to ensure that our roads are constructed in a state and manner that they become accident-free. But as far as the towing of our vehicles are concerned, they are ready to pay the 180 Ghana cedis a year instead of the 3,000 Ghana cedis they pay to vehicles that tow broken down trucks on our highways. Some of them have been sharing their concerns with the lack of enforcement of the mandatory towing service.
I would employ other stakeholders for us all to look to taking decisions, be it concrete, that will protect our driver's mate, and our passengers ultimately. And if it involves having to put something in the pool that reduces the cost of the work, let's do it and pay 80 cedis a month rather than 80 cedis a year, rather than having to wait and pay 3,000 cedis per an incident.
There may not be a real need to pay any levy for this towing. But then insurance has increased their prices. They are paying so much for third-party and comprehensive insurance. 2 to 5%, based on calculation, should be charged or tasked the insurance companies to take this burden and take 2 to 5% of whatever we have paid to them and pay to the road safety unit to be able to tow our vehicles when they break down. I want us to look at it and get the insurance company whether they can be of any help in this area.
It's a laudable idea, and it can be revisited, it will be good. But I think what needs to be done is the communication. Get the buy-in from the people before we roll it out, and I think it can catch on. In the absence of that, now, somebody said here that sometimes you get into an accident, you don't even know where the towing companies are, because you don't have the numbers. So what I would suggest also we can do is to liaise with the police departments in every district, so that when something, a bus or a truck or a car breaks down and is stationary in the middle of the road, they'll be given the mandate to call a tow company right away. The charge should be a little bit more than what an individual tow company will charge you.
Now, the chairman of the Roads, Transports and Aviation Committee of Parliament, Kennedy Osei Nyako, says that government will, in the coming days, come up with a policy that will make it mandatory for all broken down vehicles on our highways to be towed. And that will require that when you go to renew your roadworthy certificate, you will be required to pay some amount of money.
We as the committee, I think we will engage the ministry, especially the sector minister, on this matter. Now that the players, these are the key, part of the key stakeholders, now that they have agreed in principle that government should bring back the mandatory towing. We will also engage the ministry to see how they are preparing, where they've gotten to, whether they have some issues. We will share the concerns that these transport operators have also raised with the ministry to see how we can push this forward, because we can no longer wait on this matter again.
From Parliament House, Elton Brobe reporting for Joy News.
Now, if you have ever had doubts about laboratory test results you obtained, your doubts may be well grounded if you didn't obtain them from an ISO certified facility. It turns out, of the over 2,000 medical laboratories operating in the country, less than 5 of them are internationally certified. Nearly 4 years after Ghana adopted the ISO 15189 code, the Ghana Standards Authority has decided to go after laboratories that do not have the certification. Director General Professor Alex Dodu revealed this at an ongoing Celebrate Lab West Africa conference in Accra, from where Manuel Kranting filed this report.
The International Organization of Standardization is an international standard-setting body which facilitates the safe, reliable and high-quality creation of products and services. Among other things, the ISO standard number 15189 provides specific requirements for quality and competence particular to clinical laboratories. In 2017, Ghana adopted a regulation which meant that all labs operating in the country needed to be accredited. The Ghana Standards Authority and other regulatory agencies have since been working to get labs in the country certified. Professor Alex Dodu is Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority.
Out to COVID, the Ghana Health Service has been seriously concerned and interested. In fact, in 2017, so that means prior to 2017, the Ghana Health Service, the Standards Authority, together with support from the US CDC, decided that Ghana has not adopted the international standard for medical laboratory practice. It is called the ISO, which is International Organization for Standardization, standard number 15189. But in 2017, Ghana adopted it.
Now, once you adopt it, that means that this is the first time, or this is when you have it.
But after close to 4 years since adoption of the ISO standard number 15189, less than 10 of the over 2,000 labs in the country have been accredited.
Now, how many of our labs are using it? Currently, very few labs have been accredited to that level, which means that, yes, they are in the process, but they haven't reached there. And as the medical laboratory scientists themselves have said, practice is variable. Until you have them all accredited, you are going to get, shall we say, different results from different labs. Some are very high, some are very low, and that is not satisfactory. Since every health worker does, the doctor will make his or her decision on the lab results. The lab results should be consistent, because if you get it wrong, then everything is spoiled.
Professor Alex Dodo, who reviewed this at the ongoing Celebrate Lab West Africa conference in Accra, said the GSA will begin cracking the whip on defaulting laboratories.
So far, our inability to have done that over the years, to the extent that Ghana at 64, very few laboratories have been accredited to international ISO 15189 requirements, means that there's a gap, and that gap must be filled. And fortunately, if we do it, we'll create jobs. So we are just telling the country that we would enforce, and if it means going to court, we will go to court to enforce. But we are doing that because consumers have paid taxes for us to do a job to keep them safe.
And that's Manuel Cranton's report ending the 6 a.m. news. We've got plenty of news to share with you, though, when we get into the newspapers and our online portal, myjoyonline.com. That's all coming up shortly.
Well, good morning. Time to roll with the news review. We have all the papers here and we're going to do justice to them. Thank you for your company. Mama V, good morning.
Yeah, hi, Ben. Good morning.
I have the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Dispatch, Daily Statesman, and Business and Financial Times this morning.
I've got three of the papers, the Daily Guide, the Daily Graphic, and the Business Finder newspapers. I guess I'll just dig in. So let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, major crackdown, 49 TV stations shut down. Nana Agrada arrested. She seemed to be the most popular because her story is just making waves, and I haven't paid attention to her, but she's been making miracles on that television station that's now been closed, apparently.
She's been working what?
Miracles? I don't know.
Okay.
Like I'm hearing from yesterday, I just heard so many things. I didn't know. I never paid attention to that. Okay, President names deputy ministers, designates police swoop on criminal dens, nab 32 in Kaswa. If you go to the center spread of the newspaper, strengthening laboratories to ensure efficiency, World Health Organization urges West Africa states. From the same meeting that Manuel Cranton also reported on the certified laboratories, the fact that we have very few of them in Ghana with the standard certification. Vice President launches platform to check Momo fraud. It's also another story in the center spread. Ghana, Germany sign agreement to promote automotive industry. Details of that also in the center spread of the paper. If you go to the back page, 7,000 children start malaria vaccination in Jama in South. Minister hands over farm facilities to commuters is also another story that you find on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. There's a gender page, which is page 13. Child marriage rife in Northeast Gonja due to lack of school infrastructure, and UNICEF launch startup laboratories. There are other headlines in the newspaper today. If you grab it, we will come back and share details of some of the stories that we find interesting in the paper today. Okay, that's it for the graphic.
All right, let's take a look at the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. And President nominates 39 deputy ministers to serve in second term of government. Any surprises in there for you?
Oh, the fact that there are 3 deputy ministers in some of the ministries, I still don't get that.
So, Finance Ministry.
I think finance is 2.
2 plus, yes, we have a Minister of State.
And then local government is 3. I think trade is 3 as well. Yeah,
Right.
Don't get it.
So quite a number of them, and we'll be discoursing on that bit. Some familiar faces. I mentioned Herbert Krapper the other day. He's made it in, and we have a few who are also not members of parliament who have made it in there. I think information as well, having one of those. I mean, the deputy Fatima too. So Fatima Abubakar, I should say. And then prosecute persons implicated in collapse of banks microfinance COIS, that's according to the ICU. Court discharges Bishop Obinim over forgery allegations. So while Agrada was facing it, dancing to the music, I think her TV station's Thunder TV, Agrada TV, so to speak. And then there's Ice One. Okay. So those two were taken down. And Ekuapim Polo granted bail pending appeal. An authorized operation of satellite TV. NCA shuts down 49 stations. That's on page 14. Let me just take a quick look at. I just want you to note some of the names of the stations that were.
For how long? I've got some questions. For how long have they been operating illegally, though?
Oh, that one.
How long
should we go there?
Oh, yeah, we absolutely
do you want us to go there?
We had some radio stations that were quickly shut down, so they are necessary questions.
Do you recall what happened
They say it's an ongoing monitoring exercise, but for how long have they been illegally doing what they've been doing?
Do you recall how long it took
watching them
before the likes of Radio Gold and XYZ, supposedly who were not making certain financial commitments, how long it took before that matter came to the fore, even before what happened. Do you know how long it took? So I guess these matters we just might want to let sleeping dogs lie. But names like what?
Things for me though.
Dove TV. No, very genuine, of course. Dove TV, Thunder TV, Power TV, Kiss TV, Sagani TV, Cash, Lion TV, Apple TV. Yeah, some more. Anyway, well, those are the names they chose for the stations. There is Ekuapim Polo granted bail pending appeal. I think some people have misconstrued this. They think that means the court has rescinded its decision and is letting Ekuapim Polo go home free. Actually, that's not the case. So she's been granted bail pending the appeal that has been filed. And there's a story somewhere, I believe, in the paper that says never plead guilty. Never plead guilty in response to what happened in Ekuapim Polo's
Certainly, we all tend to be lawyers and experts at the job.
Maybe when
Everybody
I find
that Ekuapim Polo's lawyer is incompetent. Like a lot of people are.
Okay, so here's the article. It's actually by Nkrabia Ifadati. He is saying, you know, from this experience,
totally
and if I may quote him, from this experience, I was called to the bar in 1986 with the basic mindset, let me just highlight that never plead guilty. Never. Okay? Of course, there's more that he says
It's a feature. It's part of a long write-up. So
it is.
I'll read the full before I can make a judgment on what he has said. My general comment is on what people are saying, and some people think that they are better than Ekuapim Polo's lawyer.
Mama V,
I think they have a better strategy at it.
The point is that he's a lawyer, he's qualified. And the other point is that there are cases where, say pleading guilty is in your best interest. And sometimes the lawyers would advise you to do that because not pleading guilty and having the case run its full course would actually lead to more punishment for you. And of course, people would speak in. Sometimes, I don't want to use that word. Other stories in here, prosecute persons implicated in collapse of banks microfinance COIS. And on the back page, Germany to support Ghana's automotive sector, industrial park development. That's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Let's do the daily guide on the front page. Court discharges Obinim, Agrada arrested over Sika Gary, TV shut down, teacher kills money lender. Ekuapim Polo gets 80,000 Ghana cedis bail. 39 deputy ministers drop. In the center spread of the paper, of course, the Ekuapim Polo story is here. I think I was reading on one of the online portals where they said that even though she had been granted bail, she was yet to be released by the police CID. Okreko Mante nominated for Deputy Minister of Tourism, Act and Culture, one for the industry. I want to own a comedy club in Ghana. That's America's Steve Chappell, is it? That details of that in the center spread of the Daily Guide newspaper. On the back page, Kotoko pay Konedu some 41,000 K, but disagree. Threatening CAS pursuit. That's the Ghana Football Association Players Status Committee has ordered Asante Kotoko to pay its former coach Maxwell Konedu some $41,000. The order was for the unilateral termination of the former Black Stars deputy coach contract when this season's league was just 3 weeks old. Super League can go ahead. That's the breakaway European Super League founder and Juve chairman said yesterday that the league can no longer go ahead after 6 English clubs withdrew. All set for boys brigade.
What was the all for? So I was telling our producer Echo yesterday that I was in a way rooting for the Super League. Not that I really wanted it to go the full haul, but the fact that UEFA has become a sort of monopoly. And we all know what monopolies breed, some things that ought to change. I think this will shake up the European football system, not just the European football system, but the global football system. And I think it's a good thing.
Well, I was against it, by the way.
You were against it? So why were you fundamentally against it? Why?
I think that, the fact that, I will be tired watching these big teams play against each other. I mean, you know that they rarely meet.
There were opportunities for a small pool of teams to be added on.
Yeah, but still, I think it's and I don't get the whole objective. Is it the money? Because football, the game itself. I mean, I know that traditionally they would say you're playing the game for the love of it. You play the game.
The reality is now they are playing for the money of
then
it. It's part of it.
Then it'll be a big mess. I don't think money should be the main objective. Yeah. I don't.
George highlights the bit about Abedi Pele and how, we don't even have a good national monument in his honor. If Abedi Pele were playing today, with the skills he had and what he did, you can imagine how much more he could have raked in. So
play for the love, play for your country. I mean, you
go tell that to those footballers who feel they've played for Ghana, played for
pride
teams, and now they are down to their bottom dollar. Go tell that to them.
We know some European players who play for country and not take money. They play
do you know how much they get from their clubs, for which reason they don't
but
take
I'm just saying that
country?
We know that traditionally money has not been the main purpose for playing the game. It's a source of entertainment for many people.
Looking for them. So much anything by you. Hey, Mama Vipa. The Daily Dispatch newspaper now. 85% of last batch of 40 ministers are MPs, top 10 accident-prone areas. And today we'll be telling you about how to avert some accidents when certain things happen en route. Mahama is NDC's best bet into any election, Dr. Kumbo saying that, but there's a caveat in there. He also wants anyone who wants to contest him to be able to do so. Most spoken languages in Ghana. Interesting list here. Asante. Chi, obviously, 16%. Ava, 14%.
That's impressive.
Fanti, 11.6%. Brong, 4.9%. Dagomba, 4.4%. And Dangme, 4.2%. So interesting dynamics.
Dangme is Gadangbe. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is the breakdown. But I'm actually.
Just the difference between Asante Tree and
Eva is 14%.
So
I find that very interesting because Asante Tree is spoken across. Some people refer to it as a lingua franca or something that extends across the country. Even you go up north, and yes, some people. So I find it interesting that
Eva is
actually 14%. That's impressive. Other stories in the paper, you can check out the back page. It has that list of ministers there, actually. You can take a look at that in the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Let's do the Business Finder newspaper. On the front page, 3 to assist Oforiatta as President names 39 Deputy Minister nominees. Edu Boahen elevated to Minister of State. Dawa Industrial Zone to create 80,000 direct jobs, make funds more accessible to farmers. That's the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to ADB, the bank. On page 4, over 17 million Momo accounts active. The Bank of Ghana has indicated that there are more than 17 million active mobile money accounts, which gives ample evidence of the increasing adoption of digital payments. And if you go to page 5, still in the Business Finder, beyond citing the COVID-19 pandemic as cause of the delay, governments must open up on which other reasons have occasioned the delay in settling on a new national minimum wage, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has told the Business Finder. More on what Mr. Solomon Kote, General Secretary, said to the paper is on page 5. Let's check out what's in the center spread. That's a Gateway Real Estate Africa, a private real estate development company specializing, they give their specialty, but what is it about? Set up at Apollonia City. If you're interested, you can read about it. German Cooperation Trade Ministry collaborate to promote Ghana's automotive sector. Moves to make tax payment easy welcome. And that Dawa Industrial Zone that is set to create some direct jobs. That full story is in the center spread. I guess that will be it for the Business Finder newspaper.
So I'll do the BNFT, but before that, just one of the headlines from the Daily Statesman. More fireworks in NDC as Adekoka tags Dr. Kumbo as serial caller. I listened to that conversation on Joy FM with Evans Mensah, and I just want to say that that is not what at least I heard, because if you even look at the quote here, it says he here is Adekoka, the Greater Accra, chairman of the NDC. He added that such acts should be expected from anonymous or serial callers and not an elderly person like Kumbo. So I don't know whether that's a tacit, line being drawn that Kumbo is a serial caller. Maybe that's not the implication. Business and Financial Times, pandemic drives down petroleum revenues by 31%, and the economy comes out of recession, grows by 3.3% in Q4. Of course, we're talking last year. And recruit only licensed teachers from next month or be sanctioned. Let's check out some stories, Mo.
Oh, not much to do in the papers except to comments on the deputy AG nominee. This is Dinah Asnodapa. I think some people have been, the fact that the president went beyond parliaments, and this is not even the person who is active in the party necessarily or even in government, and she got this position. But for those of you who don't know her, she's a great person, by the way. She has a lot of expertise that will help this ministry if she's vetted and if her appointment is approved by Parliament.
So interesting the way you started.
ADR practice and expertise. She's got good training in corporate governance as well. She's a law lecturer, by the way, and I sat through some
alternative dispute resolution.
One of her conferences before. She was talking about, I think we're talking about divorce and stuff like that. She was sharing experiences. She was actually moderating, so she wasn't necessarily given a full speech. But, once in a while she shared some experiences and I found it really, really interesting. So, yeah, she's a great person. We will be glad if she appears and then they approve her and then she finally goes to the Attorney General's office as a Deputy Attorney General. I think it's a good one. It's a big one. And we're proud of it.
Well, she'd have to prove her mettle in there. Well, someone else who's also in there when it comes to tourism, arts and culture, Mr. Mark Okreku-Mante. And he is a big industry player as far as entertainment circles are concerned. And, we can only wish him the very best as he moves on to this next
industry people are excited
level.
That at least they have a proper
a major player in there.
Yeah, to assist the main minister. Main minister is great also. He's not, he thinks outside, the normal, some people are like, this is what I know. I think he's broad thinking. And so that's a great match. And yeah, again, Mark, we wish him the very best. We hope that industry people, for once, they will support him fully irrespective of whatever it is that they're thinking, and let him succeed. At least
are they thinking anything?
Succeed. Oh,
allow
you have no idea what this creative industry, the kind of division that is in here.
It's divisive in every industry. So at least you have an industry person, work with a person, collaborate with a person. Because if he succeeds, the industry succeeds.
Yeah.
2 before court for allegedly supplying unwholesome water to homes. That's the only story I'll do on page 3. And it basically spells out how one Kwabena Atakra and Kwabena Esuning, managing director and foreman of Integral Associates Limited, have been granted a 20,000 Ghana cedi bail by the Adenta District Court for allegedly supplying unwholesome water to residents. They pleaded guilty to all 3 counts of non-compliance with notice, and apparently they were using borehole water that was not treated. So you can't just do anything you feel like and distribute it to people for consumption. So there are rules and regulations, and that ought to be taken stock of. But before we wrap up and cede our way to sports, I know there's a big birthday that we're celebrating today. Our very own Obatan Pa.
Oh, it's Oba's birthday.
Oh, yes, it is.
So where's the party? What is the morning cake?
Obatan Pa, so we're posing the question, where's the birthday? Mama V is asking. Where's the birthday? Where is it happening? What's popping?
Well, check out what's on myjoyonline.com. What's making headlines on that page. I also have a big birthday dedication. Gori Hansen is your birthday today. Now, Gori is son of a former colleague of ours, former sales manager, Joy Prime and Hits FM. His son, Gori Hansen, is celebrating his birthday today. He's clocked 6 years. Our son has grown handsomely, and we give the praise to God. Gori, blessed birthday to you from management of multimedia, the sales force, and your mother, Sally. Continue to blossom, our son. And Sally, our prayers continue to stay with you. We're happy that Gori is 6 years today. If you had sent me a picture, I would have just put it on the screen so that we celebrate him. And it is our prayer that he will continue to grow in the Lord. And then, of course, we'll be with you, Sally. But Oba, happy birthday to Oba. Oh, there she is.
Okay. Listen, I comment my reserve. I reserve all my comments.
If you don't bring a cake, this picture has done it for you, Oba.
Obatampa and Gori, happy birthday to you. Time now for Sports Tuesday. We'll be right back.
We appreciate the time you've made out to join us this morning for AM Sports on AM Show with me, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Let's start with Black Stars, where there are concerns about call-ups to the senior national team. And former Vice President of the football governing body, George Afriye, he says that during his time as the Vice President of the association, he and his boss, Kwesi Nyantakyi, were not influencing the technical decisions on who should play for the Black Stars, and has called on Kurt Okreko and his administration to let CK Akono be.
You see, I have said this several times, and I'll repeat it again. We need to manage the transition very, very well. The Black Stars should be 80% young players, 20% old players. I repeat myself. The Black Stars should be 80% young players, 20% old players. If we do that, the Black Stars will have a good future. And we should take away favoritism. This one belongs here, so we won't call him. That one belongs here, so don't call him. This will not help the Black Stars. Please. These are some of the reasons why people will always call for white man to coach the Black Stars. But what? Trust me, since we have opted to have one of our own, please, let us leave him to work. Let's give him all the needed support for him to work. CK Akono must have his peace to work. That's all I'm calling for. If he failed, we will all see that he has failed. One of the good things I can boast of, and Kwesi Nyantakyi can boast also, we don't interfere with national team call-up. We don't. National team call-up, allow the coaches. We believe that the coaches are capable, they are competent. Let's allow them.
Then how can you never win the tournament? What were the mistakes you did then you don't win?
It eluded us for, 2 finals. It's eluded us. But hey, you never know. Maybe under Kets we are going to win it. You never know. So you cannot say never.
What did you do that we never won it? And what should they do differently?
I'm saying that we went very close. Luck. The last one, especially the one in Equatorial Guinea, it was pure luck. That we were leading 2 penalty kicks. We were to just bury the second and third, and then we didn't. But I'm saying that you can never say never. So let's hope maybe under Ketu Kriku will win it. So don't think he can. When we allow the coaches, fortunately, people have said that all the cups that we won it under black coaches, the Ghanaian coaches. So fortunately, we have a Ghanaian coach in charge. Let's give him the needed support, and I believe that CK will do wonders for us.
And interestingly, he talked about luck and the latter part of how Ghana missed 2 penalty kickers in the 2015 African Cup of Nations final against Cote d'Ivoire. Ajiman Bedu was part of that team that participated in the tournament, and he also attributed the country's AFCON drought to luck, eluding us.
You see, it's a question every time it goes through our mind as well. Even when 4 days ago I was in the gym with Jonathan, and we were saying the same thing you are asking me now. I asked him, so I said, my guy, what happened in 2015? Because I can't recall myself, or if maybe you can help me. Any team or a nation going up 2 penalty kicks and still lose to the opponent. I can't recall myself if it have ever happened in football.
I can't recall myself too.
So at times you just lead small luck. It's not about what you would do on the pitch, but you know, in everything, in life in general, when even you are going out in the morning, you pray for luck, and the luck wasn't there. That's why I said, let's go out and hope that these young chaps will get the luck and win something for the nation.
From football, let's do boxing. There have been concerns surrounding sporting infrastructure in the country. It is not only football, but boxing too have suffered. Bukom Banku, who is a cruiserweight boxer, is calling on government to construct boxing gyms across the country and not only center them within Accra.
Available data from the Ghana Boxing Authority GBA indicates that there are 52 gyms recognized by the regulatory body. Over 50% of these gyms are situated in the capital city, Accra. Accra alone has 27 of these gyms, while the Volta region, which produced 2 out of the nation's 10 world champions, has only 3. The Bono region, which gave Ghana the marvelous Nanaya Kunedu, has 6 gyms recognized by the Ghana Boxing Authority. There are 5 gyms in the Western region and 5 in the Central region as well, which produced the former Commonwealth champion Sam Akroma. Northern Ghana has the lowest representation of boxing gyms, with Tamale, Bolga and Wa having 1 each. This is a trend that former WBO Africa champion Bukom Banku wants to see reversed.
Kumasi people like boxing too much. Kumasi people, they like boxing the same like Accra people. But you know, boxing day for Accra, only Accra boxing day. Well, I want any region, they open boxing gym there.
Okay.
To teaching people, because boxing, every boxer day for Accra, every boxer day for Accra. No boxer day Kumasi, no boxer day Cedro, no boxer day Cape Coast, no boxer day. I don't understand. I want all the Accra coaches go to teaching people over there. Sani wana bosses schedule manjin people. It's not only Accra.
Okay.
Okay. Kumasi people, they like boxing too much.
Yeah. I've been wondering, Banku, are you ever interested in becoming a boxing trainer? Do you ever see yourself becoming a boxing trainer?
Me?
Yes.
You know, my second boy is a boxer. My second boy is a boxer. I sparring with them.
What's his name?
Abu Kamoko.
Abu Kamoko. He's a boxer.
I give him
and you want him to become a boxer?
Yes.
But yes, some years ago,
I don't want my fight with fight boss because bosses mentality work. But the guy, my second born Abu Kamoko say only bossing the fight. I don't know. He can be a world champion.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now we kickstart our conversation on the educational front, where stakeholders have actually been discussing myriad matters on how to make the system better. Africa Education Watch has a report that shows that there's been a lack of transparency and open governance standards are crippling the educational sector. We're going to delve into that conversation now with our guests, Kofi Asare, who is Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. We also have Peter Anti, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Morning to your team and Peter and your audience.
Great. So, Kofi, interesting times. We've seen that report that you've come out with and bordering on numerous matters. We're going to take them apart bit by bit. But this whole idea of an open governance report on the educational sector, what exactly is it that triggered this idea that you've come forth with?
Well, government policy and vision is to see a Ghanaian society where right information is not constricted, it's actually respected, subject to the restrictions of law, which is the right to information law. And that is why His Excellency the President prioritized the passage of the RTI law and its implementation. We, as an organization, are interested in ensuring there's transparent, accountable, and there's a responsive education sector where the citizenry have access to information on the performance of the agencies which are using their taxes to deliver education service to them. We are interested in seeing a sector where every partner, civil society, media house, has information that is relevant in assessing the performance of these institutions and situates them in a better position to play their key role as watchdogs in society and demand quality service, and also encourage the adoption of these standards in other agencies who are doing so well. That was the driver of this open governance report, which we have launched to be an annual survey that will be conducted among education sector institutions, where they will be ranked and they will be graded on the basis of their adherence to globally accepted open governance standards.
And so that is what has actually triggered this. And you have this open governance index. In fact, you take a look at the Ministry of Education and its 18 agencies. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want you to give us maybe an overall assessment of what this report entails. I know you talk about the right to information, access to information from some of these 18 agencies. You talk about their internet presence, their websites, and all of that, and even collaboration between the different agencies. But in sum, what was the focus of this entire report? What were some of the key findings that you brought to bear?
Well, overall, the ministry and its agencies have made significant strides in creating public interfaces through websites for every or each of the 19 institutions, including the ministry. Indeed, there are only 2 institutions under the ministry that do not have websites. That's the Center for Distance Learning and Open Schooling, CENLOS, which ironically is the agency in charge of open learning and distance learning. It hasn't got a website. And then Encyclopedia Africana, which is another agency under the Ministry of Education. Apart from these 2, all 17 of the agencies have websites. And so it means that we have actually taken a step in ensuring that we embrace open governance tenets. But what is curious is that out of these 17 that have websites, we realized that with the exception of UNESCO Ghana, the National School Inspectorate Authority, almost all the other institutions did not frequently update their websites. The Ministry of Education, for instance, the last time its website was updated was last year. And we've had websites being updated once a year. If you go to the Get Fund website, for instance, it was updated a long time ago. Now, what is even more curious is that beyond the infrequent updating, what is available on this website? Because websites are supposed to be used as platforms for disseminating information relevant to the public's consumption, including the stakeholder public, both nationally and internationally, globally. If you go to the Education Ministry's website, there is no annual report there. There is no strategic plan there. There is no data on their performance or sector statistics. There is no report there. If you go to Get Fund's website, there is nothing like Get Fund's annual report. There is no indication of how Get Fund used funds, billions of money that were given to them to administer scholarships and engage in other projects. Right. So you have no sense of how Get Fund is using the money they are receiving every year and what really are their achievements, what really are their challenges, what really is the way forward. There is no strategic plan, nothing. And it follows for many of the other institutions in the education sector. And so it defeats the very essence of having a website, because even if the website is available, it is absent. Now, on this website are published telephone numbers, which was one good thing about all of them. Every institution had an official telephone line and an official email address. But unfortunately, only one of the institutions, including the ministry, only one responded to emails that were sent to them in the 3 weeks of data collection. That is from February 15th to the first week of March. Only one. Only UNESCO Ghana. Well, none of them respond to their emails. And when you have an irresponsive email address listed on the website as an official email address, and there is no mechanism to respond to emails, one wonders really whether the email address is actually fulfilling its purpose or not. When it comes to telephone numbers also advertised on this website, over 10 of the institutions failed to respond to telephone calls. And I'm talking about 10 telephone calls placed to the institutions during the period of data collection over the 3-week period, I must say. The institutions that picked up their calls, their own advertised official phone lines, included COVET, which is now the TVET Commission, the National School Inspectorate Authority, UNESCO Ghana, among others. Get Fund, for instance, never picked any of their calls advertised on their websites or their social media handles for the 3-week period. The Ministry of Education's phone line doesn't even work. If you call, the call doesn't even go through. So just
to be fair, Kofi, I'd like to find out, for example, how many times did you place calls to these entities? Do you have a log of the number of times you made calls to them?
Yeah, we placed 10 calls within a period of 15 days. We placed 10 calls within a period of 15 days. So each of them, we write the time, we place the call, and then the number to every institution. So 10 calls if you have 3 numbers, we call the numbers 10 times each, so 30 calls within a 15-day period. And even if you call the numbers today, no one will pick up. Majority of them are call numbers that are not even working. And so the essence of advertising those numbers on their website is actually defeated. Finally, on social media, we all know that Twitter and Facebook provides an opportunity to reach out to a 3 billion audience globally. It was good to know that the Ghana Education Service had a verified social media handle. Unfortunately, they were the only institution that had a verified social media handle. All the other 18 institutions did not have verified social media handles, even though about 17 out of them had social media handles. Why it is a challenge is that the absence of a verified social media handle allowed for impersonation of the institutions. For instance, WAEC. Because WAEC did not have a verified social media handle, there were over 10 Facebook pages claiming to be WAEC, 10. So why wouldn't rogues impersonate you and then be using your name to sell Apple
when there are 10 Facebook pages all claiming to be WAEC. Meanwhile, among the 10, only one is likely to be genuine, but no one knows what that particular one is because they are all using the same official logo, the same address and everything. And so the absence of verified social media handles was one of the key issues we thought could be addressed to ensure that there is credibility and also stakeholder acceptance, increased stakeholder acceptance in the quality of information churned out on this social media website.
Okay. Let me now bring in Peter Anti, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Thank you for joining the conversation. Now, you've seen this report, and some of what it reveals is damning. I mean, look at what Kofi was just making mention of. On social media, 10 accounts. All for one institution, but only one of them would be genuine. In fact, you might find that none of them is genuine because maybe that organization is not even on that platform. How much of a worry is this when it comes to accountability, transparency, responsiveness of the educational system, the Ministry of Education and its 18 agencies?
Thank you very much, and greetings to my brother, Kofi. I think it's a good work that they have done. I went through the reports. I couldn't join during the lunch, but I went through the reports, and it's an interesting work that they've put out there. Over the years we have had an issue with how these agencies deal with the people they work with. First of all, I have to state that we need to understand that when you talk of a sector like education, we always say that you are dealing with everybody in the country. You are dealing with everybody in the country because you have a sister in school, you have a brother, a cousin. So by design, everybody has got something to do with the education system, which means that information from that sector should be readily available to everybody so that people can really assess this information and then know what to do. Apart from that, the stakeholders, the rest stakeholders in the sector, if you are very observant, you will see that over the years, if you have challenges with maybe your registration number, I mean in terms of as a teacher, you have challenges with your appointment letter and all those things. They demand, or the system demands, that you move from wherever you are to Accra to have a face-to-face interaction with whoever is in charge of that particular portfolio, and then they will try to rectify it for you. And that has created some sort of corruption in the system. So when I saw the report, all that I said was, look, Kofi, you want to spoil somebody's business, because when they put some of this information out there, yes, I have to say, sometimes it is deliberate. If they put some of this information out there, you cut the human interface, the link between the one who is in trouble, who is seeking for information, and the one who is available to produce.
Peter, a quick question there for you, Peter. Are you suggesting that these institutions sometimes intentionally stifle, for example, the media people in the educational sector like you of information just to cut corners? Are you ascribing corruption to these institutions?
I'm saying that the system is designed in such a way that people would always want to have a face-to-face interaction with those that need certain kinds of information. And the reason for that would be varied. One of them is the show of power, to show people that, look, we have power, we'll be able to deal with you if you have challenges within the system. Another reason could be that some people in the system benefit from the lack of information out there. And when that happens, it means that you would have to now go through whoever is supposed to give you that information, and then they are able to do whatever they want to do with it.
So corruption, like I said.
Accountability, and then transparency that you are asking about. So it is very disturbing. It is very disturbing because there's a sector that is dealing with a lot of people. You will need to put most information online for people to access. If operating a website is difficult, I don't think operating a Facebook account, a verified Facebook account, is also difficult. But unfortunately, these things are not operational, and it's disheartening to some of us, because look, sometimes you need information from an agency, and it's either you have a friend in there who will be able to help you navigate through the process system and then you get the information, or you forget it, because the system will stress you to the extent that it becomes difficult for you to get some of the information. There are reports that are released every day. If you go to most of these educational organizations, I mean outside the country, international education organizations, they release reports every day. They just put the reports on their website. You really assess it. You use it for your analysis. You use it for your work. It enriches the kind of discussion that you undertake in this sector. But when it comes to Ghana, it is very difficult for you to get some of these documents. I think we should have the education sector performance report for 2020 on the website. We don't have it. Even when you Google on the internet, it is not there. Difficult to get. There are so many reports that are generated within the system that should be already available for people in the sector. And because they don't have these platforms operating or working, you don't have them, and you will need to write to assess some of these reports that for us we think are just for public consumption. So it's a very an eye-opening research work that has been carried out. We think that the people will take it in good faith and start working on this. I don't think the challenges maybe you might be talking about the challenges that they are facing. Yes, maybe the capacity is not there, but I think that we are in a time where we are training people to become more ICT proficient and competent. So right. if you have challenges with that, you should be able to train your staff to handle some of these things, because information in the 21st century in this time it's money. It's important. You need it to be able to plan your life. You need it to be able to do so many things. And when we are able to get this information to the general public, it will cut so much of the waste and corruption in the system that people are also using to enrich themselves.
Let me cross over to Kofi now, and very important points made by Peter Anti in respect of the lack of information flow and what negative impact it could have. But Kofi, there are some 10 indices that you used to measure, to assess these institutions, including the availability of a website, the updating of the website, whether they have an official email or call line that people can engage them on, verifiable, handle on social media and all of that. Now, walk us through these 10 indices very briefly. And do let us know, at any point, did you bother to assess the institutions in terms of those that are the best performing and those that are the worst performing? Is that something you look forward to doing, Kofi?
Yeah, exactly. The indices begin with the availability of a website, and if there is one. The second one is the frequency of updating the website. The third is the content available on the website. Our interest was to ensure that the website was not just existing, but contained information relevant for public consumption or information needed by stakeholders, especially your sector, your performance plans, your performance reports, your strategic plans, and relevant policies and laws, underpinning your work. In addition to that, we also had indexes including the availability of social media handles, the interactivity of social media handles, the availability of official email addresses, responsiveness of the addresses, and availability of official telephone numbers published on your websites and social media handles, and the responsiveness of the telephone numbers. The last one was the availability of an information officer. The last one is very important because according to the RTI law, information officers or RTI officers must be present in all these agencies whose job will include, among others, processing information requested by the public. Realize that only 2 of the institutions, the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and the GES, had received the deployment of RTI officers to date. So these 10 indicators on the website that I mentioned, UNESCO scored the highest, in all the rankings. UNESCO Ghana has benchmarks or has standards that we think are worthy of emulating. For that matter, we recommended a peer review system within the education ministry where agencies would meet periodically. I'm talking about the communication and then the heads of the institutions themselves to review their performances in respect of open governance, and then see what UNESCO, for instance, is doing good that others can emulate. The National School Inspector Authority was second. They had 8 points. UNESCO had 9. The only thing UNESCO didn't have was the RTI officer. The National School Inspector Authority did fantastic. They had 8. And they placed second in that case. The only 2 things they did not have was the RTI officer and also an irresponsive email. The email address on their website, you send an email and you don't get a response. CODVET, as I mentioned, the National Commission on TVET was third. They had 7 points. They didn't have an IT officer. They didn't have a functioning email system. And also, they did not have their performance reports or annual reports, strategic plans on their website. 3 other institutions joined CODVET in placing third. And these were the Ghana Book Development Council, WAEC, GES, and the Ghana Library Authority. What made them, had only 7 points was that they did not have the IT officer. They did not have reports on their website. They all did not have responsive email addresses as well. Now, in the case of WAEC, when we called WAEC, when the data collectors called WAEC responded on their telephone line, and then we requested for a copy of their annual report. They actually indicated that the process for obtaining the annual report required that we write a hard copy letter to WAEC, submit it in person, and then after they have accepted the request, we will pay an amount of money before we'll be giving the annual report. This is the culture in most of the institutions we are working with. And while we are not blaming an institution for behaving in a manner inconsistent with open governance tenets in a democracy, we appreciate that we are moving from a culture of non-disclosure with exemptive disclosures to a culture of full disclosure with minimal exemptions and non-disclosures. And in migrating from this opaque culture to this otherwise transparent culture, there will be challenges because the institutional cultures supports the retention of information. The staff of Get Fund is trained, is oriented to believe that it is a taboo to put out the number of people and the names of people who benefited from Get Fund scholarship in a particular year. It will only take a parliamentary inquiry or the summons of the Auditor General to release that information out, and that information must be secret. That is how they have been trained to believe. That is perhaps how their appointors mandated them to go and behave. And that is why it has become a culture there, that Get Fund information is a secret. It's a secret. There's nothing about their performance report, nothing about their strategic plan, nothing about any report. There's nothing about, the only report you had, once in 6 years, you see Auditor General taking the performance audit, and then it will bring a lot of brouhaha, and then it dies down, and then they go back and do the same thing that was going on. So they will not let anyone know what is going on. So that culture is what we are trying to gradually, support the institutions to migrate from and move into a culture of transparency.
Right.
And it will take time. It will not take just the RTI law to break this gem. It will take some time. And that is why we are saying that we are not faulting any institution. We have had discussions with some of the institutions. Yesterday, we had discussions with the National Teaching Council. They genuinely accepted the challenges that they have. And they also indicated the plans they had to, as much as possible, embrace all the 10 indicators that we have put out. We had discussions with the Student Loan Trust Fund. They took part in the launch, actually. And so we are having discussions with the institutions, just like those who are amenable to such information and are ready to change. Okay. Some of them too obviously will not be interested until there is an administrative fiat by the Ministry of Education, which is their supervising agency, before they will adopt a policy that supports information management in a more open governance style.
Kofi, before we look at some of the recommendations that you have put forward, I was going to ask the question, you took the wind out of my sail there, because I wanted to find out what the response has been from these institutions. Now, you did indicate a short while ago that some of them were amenable to the report and that they had, started maybe putting in place some mechanisms. But what has been the response generally across these 18 agencies, including, the Ministry of Education itself? And maybe what are some of the institutions, which are they, that are not responsive to what you've come out with in this report?
Well, we just launched the report yesterday, and we haven't started. We just started engaging the institutions from yesterday. And as I mentioned, we so far engaged 2 institutions. That's the National Teaching Council and then the Student Loan Trust Funds. But prior to the launch, I had discussion with the minister. I sent a copy of the report 3 days ahead of the launch to the minister and the JoyNews Director General. I sent it to the minister because our strategy for engagement includes engaging the ministry to adopt a standard information management policy for its agencies, which has a monitoring mechanism where the ministry will supervise compliance. So the ministry plays a key role in its own agency's acceptance of the recommendations we have made. We know how most of the agencies behave. Their behavior will always be, most of them will always behave in a way that will suggest that they want to protect the existing order. But our strategy is to go through the ministry, have acceptance at that level, so that the remaining will be directed from the mother agency, the mother ministry, to the agencies. Alongside that, so we are here to have a formal meeting. We are planning to have a formal meeting with the ministry and all the agency heads, where we are going to present this report to them in the presence of the minister, and then have discussions about how collectively, as agencies under the ministry and as a ministry, they can put in place policy measures, administrative measures to ensure that there is compliance to the open governance standards that we have set for ourselves as a nation. Okay. And so we will update the media and other stakeholders on the progress we make in holding such meeting. But that meeting is going to happen anytime soon. We are going to write to the minister requesting for that meeting in the next week, so that commitment will be secured early enough, so that as much as possible, these are things that can be done in the short term. Every agency populates their websites. If you don't have another report, start developing it for the one for 2020, because we need to quickly move, take advantage of the change of the transition to a new administration, and expect that the new leader will buy into most of these democracy issues, and let's make our institutions better for the citizenry. For us, that's the main objective of this exercise. Okay, so before we take a swipe at the 6-point list of recommendations, let me bring in Peter. Now, this report is out, and the institutions involved or concerned are also over the next few days going to have the opportunity of receiving this report and reacting to it. What would be your expectations? How are you hoping that these institutions would take the report and maybe run with it? What are your expectations, Peter?
Well, I'm expecting that they will be receptive of the information that have been put out. Of course, we are developing the sector, and if your agency is found to not to have obeyed some of the things that you're supposed to do in terms of information delivery to the public, it is just an avenue for you to amend these ways and put together a structure that will enable you to deliver information to the public. And I think that they would accept because this is not something that is difficult to do. It just requires technical expertise and then some level of resources to be committed to it, and then you get somebody to be in charge of your media. Most of them have PR units, so it's not something that is difficult to do. So the heads of these agencies should, as quickly as possible, as they lay hands on these reports, put together their PR unit, engage them, ask them what they need to be able to update their website, to get a functioning Facebook account and Twitter. I think these two are enough for for the general public, so that they could, as time goes on, release or put some of this information on this platform for all of us to have access to. So we are expecting that they will be receptive to the information when provided to them.
Okay, let me come back to you, Kofi. So very briefly, I want you to walk us through the 6-point recommendation that you have put forward and what exactly they encompass.
Well, our recommendations, first of all, border on the Ministry of Education itself, adapting a standard information management policy for its agencies and putting in place monitoring mechanisms, to monitor compliance. I'll give you an example, which is the second recommendation. The Ministry of Education should consider procuring an IVR, an interactive voice response system. If you go to other countries like Norway, in Denmark, for instance, I've seen also in Argentina, their Ministry of Education normally operates this IVR system. The IVR system simply requires that if I want to contact the Ministry of Education or any of its agencies, for instance, I dial 900. If you dial 900, the automated response will come. If you want to go to GES, press 1, CODVET, press 2, WAEC, press 3. If I press 3, the IVR will distribute my call to WAEC on the system of the Ministry of Education. Then WAEC's phone number will ring. If WAEC does not pick the call, at the end of the month, the ministry will request for the itemized call. The ministry will know the number of calls that were distributed to agencies that were not answered. On the basis of that, the ministry is able to monitor the compliance of its agencies to its communication or information management system. This is one way the ministry can sit there and monitor the extent to which agencies are responding to calls. Some can even go further and even call a sample of those callers to find out why you contacted WAEC and whether your issue was resolved. That is one way the ministry can monitor compliance or responsiveness of its agencies to calls. Apart from that, the Ministry of Education must set up a professional website. Its website presently is not professional. It is full of broken links and does not befit the status of a ministry, which is the biggest ministry in Ghana, commanding a budget 10 times bigger than other ministries. And so the website itself must be professional. And it's actually not a safe website. In IT sense, they say a website is not safe. It's not a safe website with numerous broken links. The third is that the Ghana Education Service is the biggest service in Ghana. It is bigger than about 4 ministries put together. The GES website must be redesigned so that they can have regional education directories and all over 200 district education offices listed on the website with their telephone numbers and email addresses, all functioning. So that if you want to contact the district director for Ejura Secretary and find out about an issue that came to you at multimedia, you go to the GES website, you should be able to have the contact number of the district education office in Ejura. You don't have to be swimming in the tide to find that. And so that is a recommendation to the GES and all other decentralized agencies in the under the Ministry of Education. Communication officers must be mandated to handle email addresses and giving clear KPIs, which should be reviewed periodically, so that we are sure that emails are not just being sent and received, but they are being responded to. Same way, telephone lines in the short term. In addition to that, we are recommending that all agencies must have verified social media presence on Facebook and Twitter, at least for these two, which commands a 3 billion global audience. Having verified social media audience shouldn't be too difficult an issue to surmount, in the short term. And then finally, we want the Ministry of Education to issue orders to all the agencies to upload their performance reports, their financial reports, relevant data on their various sectors or subsectors, and most importantly, policies and laws relating to their work on their website, so that the public, the stakeholder public, the media, CSOs, anyone living in China can just log on to their website and access information about how they are faring, what they are doing, so that others can learn, so that we can also equally advocate for quality where there is a need to do so. These are the recommendations that have been made to the Ministry of Education and its agencies. And we hope that the ministry will embrace these recommendations in good faith and adapt them to improve the quality of governance in our public governance system within the education sector.
And that is our hope, all of us, that indeed they will take stock of them, and those that they can immediately start applying, they do so. But before we wrap on this conversation, there's something, well, good news that we've, got wind of in recent times. And the former education minister was telling us about how for 6 consecutive years, Ghana has been topping the WASI. And recently we were told that 88%, 411 out of 465 of the straight A's were actually produced from right here in Ghana, with the rest going to Nigeria. Peter, would you say that is vindication of the free SHS, system? What do you think this implies in real terms?
I think that somewhere in November, we said that we should be careful ascribing some of these successes in the education sector, what basically are outputs to a single policy that have run for just a year. There are no scientific scientific evidence to show that the students pass because of the free SHS, unless, of course, I'm giving data to analyze, and I'm able to control so many factors that can be ascribed to students' performance in an exam. I will never be able to professionally assert that students passed the exam this last year because of a single policy that I've run for 3 years. That would be professionally that would be professionally not right. We need to state that although students seem to be performing well in their academic achievement when it comes to these exams, these are just outputs. The way we measure the quality of education within a system goes beyond academic achievement, and that is the point that we've been missing since day one when we talk about quality education in our system. It goes beyond the student's ability to pass an examination. It should transcend to the student's ability to be productive to the entire economy, to the entire society. And that is where outcome comes in. And we have said this over and over again. So until we see the education system transforming the economy, transforming the human resource to be able for them to contribute to the total development of Ghana, where our GDP will continue to push up, and we see other things happening, it will be difficult for us to say concretely that the students passing WASI with 8 A's or a number of A's means that our education system is top-notch. No, it means that we are doing well, but the output that we are getting are short-term a result of our educational policies. How long-term will these policies enable the country to move from where we are to a more productive society? That is how I always look at some of these things. So free SHS is doing well, but it will be unprofessional to ascribe any performance in WASI to free SHS alone. Okay,
so I'll take your take actually on the same matter, Kofi. The year before, we had 220 straight A's and still topped in West Africa. This time we have 411 of them. Would you ascribe this giant leap to free SHS and maybe its benefits?
Let me say that the free senior high school policy should always not be decoupled from secondary education. And so we are better off saying secondary education, because when we pass BEC, we don't talk FQ, we talk about BEC. So why do we talk about free senior high school when we talk about WASI? So we must disconnect it from free senior high school. We've always, in the past, performed creditably well compared to the other 4 countries in WAEC. And as you mentioned, yes, we've always been topping that league for the past 7 or so years. And it's a good idea. It's a good feeling and good to know that we are still topping. And I congratulate the teachers of these students, and also I congratulate the students, for putting up that performance within a COVID environment. Having said that, it is very important for us to appreciate the fact that it is the equation, the story of last year's examination performance can never be complete without situating it within the context which the examinations were written. For the first time in the history of WAEC 50 plus years in Ghana and the entire West African subcontinent, there is no time in the history of WAEC where the telephone numbers, the email addresses, the schools, the subject areas of its markers, the examiners, those who marked last year's papers, were leaked on social media. It hasn't happened any time in any country in the past 5.5 decades of WAEC existence. Second, in Ghana, amongst all the 5 countries, Ghana is the only country where WAEC issued a statement to admit that there was a leakage. I'm not talking about media alleging, I'm not talking about education, I'm talking about WAEC themselves issuing a statement to admit. These 2 leakages were all confirmed in WAEC issued statements. So if we really understand that leakage in questions, but more specifically, leakages in the contact details of examiners can affect the quality of the results, then we shouldn't look at one aspect, that's the beneficiary of the leakages, and forget about how to ensure that our system is made more credible moving forward. So in conclusion, I will say that the story of last year's WASI is never complete without considering the environment within which the examinations were written. First, COVID. Second, for the first time in WAEC's history, leakage in the contact details of its markers and examiners, and the same markers were used to mark the Ghanaian papers. And then third, admitted leakage in papers. Let me finally say that we will be launching our report on the WAEC examination sometime in the next month. And so when we launch the report, it's taking about 6 months to put together this report because the people who are feeding into the report are many. We want to document the processes from before the examination, during the examination, what took place from between WAEC's office and headquarters through to their strong rooms in the regions, the role the police played, to the schools, invigilators. We are doing a whole comprehensive value chain analysis report of what actually went on last year. And we'll publish it in the next month so that we can have a basis to actually interrogate our assessment system and embrace change to make it stronger and more, leak-proof. But I congratulate the teachers and the students. Okay. And also the government for supporting them in school to achieve this feat.
Kofi, thank you very much for joining the conversation. Kofi Asari, Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. And to you, Peter, as well. Peter Anti, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Gentlemen, we're very grateful for your time. And we look forward to the very best, the golden era, if you like, for our educational system in the years to come. But moving from education, we talk safety on our roads. The carnage on our roads nowadays is simply mind-boggling. We're actually addressing 5 practical things to do before you move your vehicle. What are some of the things you ought to look out for? Mama Vio Usuabaje is standing by with the CEO of Top Tech, Cecil Gabra, who will be telling us more in that respect. Mama Vio, over to you.
Because part of the issue is really the fact that we have 40 vehicles, breakdown vehicles, and we need some kind of towing service to take those vehicles out. We all have our independent opinion on this, but accidents, we kind of have divided opinions on accident because we keep recording accident. First quarter of this year alone, we understand we have over 800 human lives that have been taken away from us. And so as part of our Drive Safe campaign, we want to know what we individually can do, because sometimes our vehicles are faulty, we have no idea, we just sit in them and we move only to realize that they can't take us to our final destination, and sometimes it causes accident. So I've come to see Mr. Cecil Gabra. He's the Executive Director and Founder of Top Tech Transport and Logistics. Thank you very much for hosting us.
You're very most welcome.
So we've been having this conversation of road accidents, and I think that we've been able to sustain it pretty much this time around. Do you see progress being made?
Well, I think there's an alertness now that everybody is listening, everybody is watching,
multimedia, and I feel it's a good thing. I'll say kudos. We must continue. You must not stop it. Let's start happening, because in Ghana, 99% of goods that we actually transport is all by road transport. We cannot do without it, whether we like it or not, right? This morning you sat in the vehicle, you drove to work. I did so. We don't have the tram system here. We don't have any short form like BRT, bus rapid transit system. All what we have is drive and go, or enjoy sitting in a Trotsky or any other bus. So as for road crashes, they are bound to happen. The only thing that we need to do is we have to be helpful by helping each other. For instance, this morning when I was coming to work, there was a guy driving a Hyundai Elantra, and I didn't know where he was going. He was just weaving through, and finally we came at par. I rolled my glasses and I said, Papa, I gave him a spell. Turbo, I just, exercise patient. And you know what he did? He just saluted me. I said, that is fine. But if you go shouting on this person, you bring a road rage. And I always say that out of 10 vehicles that you see on the road, my dear lady, 5 people are mad. 10 drivers, 5 drivers are mad. And mad in quotes. Maybe in the morning, the guy didn't have money in the house to leave to the wife. He goes crazy. Same morning, he's had problems with his landlord or landlady. Others are even getting up at 4 a.m. running away from the house. So madness is not an issue where you have taken off your clothes. That is an issue where you have a problem, and therefore you brought the problem to your steering wheel. If you have a problem, don't drive at all. That is it. Just go by either Trotsky, taxi, Uber, whatever it is, and then relax. Because if you bring your troubles down the steering wheel, I'm telling you that you're going to have a lot of problems. Because driving needs the whole brains. It needs every part of your body. For instance, at Top Tech, we don't even teach automatic, because automatic is...
You don't?
We don't teach
But that's
automatic.
what we drive these days.
Yes, but what if your husband is using a 4x4, which is
African
manual, which is manual, and then he's parked behind you, and you need to move that vehicle, okay? And we do so because you need to understand driving. And you need to know how to drive the manual, you need to know how to drive the automatic. Automatic will come naturally. Okay, so we say automatic is no driving, because we want you to work it out with all your hands, your legs, and then that makes you...
But don't you tend to forget automatic after the manual after you've used automatic for so long?
Once a driver, always a driver. Once you drive the manual vehicle for a certain period, and then you come back to the automatic, it's always easier for you to drive.
Okay. Well, that's one big lesson for me right there. But you've given me Jacob Amumensa, who will be taking us through the pre-start checks. And this is what we all should do before you move a vehicle, whether you are a woman or a man. A lot of the times, I guess we tend to leave it to the man to do. And so if your man is pretty busy, this is something that you can also do as a woman. So Jacob, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. How do we begin this whole pre-start check?
All right. So first of all, what you have to do is when you are lucky, God gives you life, you come out of your room, the very first thing you have to do is go around your vehicle. You need to go around the vehicle to check your tires, if they are well inflated. That's the first thing you have to do.
Okay.
You check the tires if they are well inflated. Another thing we are supposed to do is to check for leakages within the tire. If I say leakages within the tire, something like this. If this is the tire, you need to pass your hand through the rims to check if they are wet.
They are wet.
Yes.
So is this oil wet or this is water wet?
If it is wet, your brake fluid, it's leaking. The moment your brake fluid starts to leak, if this tire's brake fluid is leaking, it affects all the 4. Do you understand? So we have to check all the 4 tires if they are not wet. You pass your hand, as I did it, you pass your hand through the rims to see if they are wet please do not move it.
Is one spot enough?
Not just one spot. You pass your hand through it to check if it's dry.
Okay.
You are good to go. If it's wet, please do not move. Let the mechanic check why it's wet.
Okay.
If it's your brake fluid, the brake fluid comes with a smell. It comes with a smell, which when we open our bonnet, we are going to look at all those things. After checking through all the 4 tires, another thing you need to do is to go down and look under your vehicle for leakages. Like something like this. You need to bend down like this and look out for leakages. What leakages are we looking out for? Your coolant, your engine oil, your brake fluid as well. These are the leakages we are looking for.
Okay.
You go under, check, there's no leakage, then we can come into the bonnet and open it. All right. So
Can I ask you about the tie? How do you know there is a problem? Apart from the checking for the whether there's some leakage, I get that. But in terms of the tie itself, the pressure.
All right. So the tie pressure, looking at the tie physically, you can see that this side stays on the ground. So if the tie pressure is down, you would see this side of the tie protrude more. It comes out more. If it's more, then we need to top it up.
Okay.
After topping it up, you move it to the vulcanizer to check why the tie was down. It could be a puncture, a slow puncture. So they work on it and put air into it again for you. Another thing you should also check are for cracks and damages on the tie. You need to check for cracks and damages. If there is a crack on your tie and you do not check it, whilst you move on the road, because of the traction, this is made of rubber. The road itself is made of bitumen, which we call coal tar. The two together creates friction and it generates heat. The more heat that goes into the tie will allow your tie to blow out. That's how come someone will be driving on the road, the tie blows out.
And that has happened to me before at dawn on my way to work. Unfortunately, because the glasses are up and I was listening to music, I think it was a miracle that I heard something. And so I put the music off just to pay more attention to it. And I was so scared. Yeah.
It's very scary. When your tie blows out, it's very, very scary.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we're done with this, I guess we're all clear to open the bonnets. So this is Jacob taking us through the basic things that we all need to do before we move our vehicles, and this is all in order to help us avoid some accidents that we can prevent, basically.
So after the outside check, we come into the bonnet.
Okay. Why is your bonnet shiny?
Yes, with it, we always do a steam wash.
Okay.
Once every week, we do a steam wash. So your engine becomes so clean and neat.
Wait, so I take it to the car wash and they wash it for me once a week? Is that the same thing you've done?
Now let me just chip in. You remember he said a steam wash.
Yeah.
Now with the modern vehicles, you don't just take it to the washing bay and then they use the water. No, this is steam, and it is made up of chemicals. Okay, and there are certain stations, I'm not promoting them, certain stations that you go, tell them you want a steam wash, and that's what we do to our vehicles once a week to take the rust from the engine and then make the engine so clean. There's nothing like driving with a cleaner engine.
Okay, so steam wash once a week.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, so after we open our bonnet, there is no systematic way of checking it. You can check from anywhere, but we are going to start with the engine oil first.
Okay.
First of all, this is what we use in checking the engine oil, which we call dip stick. That is a dip stick. All you need to do is you need to bring it out, and you wipe off the very first oil you see on it. Some people bring it out, all they do is check and fix it back. But you need to wipe off the very first oil. Why do you do that? The reason is, during the day, as you use the car, the engine oil, it's a little bit thicker. So when heat gets to it, it melts. So it becomes more. So if this is where we use in checking the oil, you can see L and F, which is low and full.
Okay.
So your oil level is supposed to be on the F. But when you use the car and heat gets to the engine oil, it shoots it up. So it dents, let's imagine it dents here. You leave it. The moment you bring it out, it tells you that this is the level of your engine oil. But no, that is not the level. So you need to wipe it off to give you the accuracy in oil level.
Okay.
After wiping it off, you fix it back. Some few seconds.
Take it back.
You bring it out, and this is how you hold it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
This is how you hold it. You don't tilt it backwards. You don't tilt it forward. You hold it straight.
Okay.
So it gives you the accurate level of oil that you need.
All right.
So that is how to check the engine oil. There are a few ways you can check if your engine oil is dirty. One, the texture. All you need to do is to touch the oil and feel it. If you feel particles in it, it is dirty. No matter how clear the engine oil is, when you feel particles in it, it is dirty. They need to change it.
Okay.
They need to change the oil. So they find out how the dirt got into the engine. So that is the first one. The second one is the color. The color. The engine oil color shouldn't be black. It shouldn't be black. The moment it is black, it's going to spoil your engine. So it starts, the engine oil color looks a little bit like yellowish.
Okay.
It looks a little bit like yellowish color. So as time goes on, it keeps changing. It keeps changing. But you shouldn't allow it to get to the black color. When it gets to the black color, it's going to spoil your engine.
Okay.
So that is how we deal with the engine oil, how we check the engine oil, and how to know if your engine oil is dirty.
Okay.
Still on the engine oil, there are ways we can service our car. 3 ways we can service our car. That is cars, like commercial vehicles, cars that are on the run all the time. They stay on the road all the time. 2 to 3 weeks. Every 2 to 3 weeks, you need to service it. You need to service it so your car stays in good condition for you. We also have the 3-month servicing, which are for cars like probably yours. You drive to the office, park, drive to the house. Saturday, you go for wedding. Sunday, church, you bring it back. Every 3 months, you need to service it. Then we come to the ones that you use today, you leave it down like 2-3 days before you go back to it. Every 6 months, you service it.
Okay.
The servicing we are talking about is about the engine oil. You let them check the brake fluid, all the fluids in the car, like the coolant. We have another fluid called the ATF, automatic transmission fluid, which helps the transmission of the car. All these fluids, you need to have them checked when you are doing your servicing.
Great.
From the engine oil, we move to this, which we call the brake fluid. This is the brake fluid reservoir. The brake fluid itself is in there. Every car has a particular brake fluid it uses. Every car has a particular brake fluid it uses. When we look on the filler cap, this is a filler cap. It says clean filler cap before removing. Use only .3 or 4 from a sealed container. Some of the cars can tell you use only .3. Some will tell you use only .4. If it says only .3 and you put in 4, it wouldn't work. It's like taking a petrol car to the filling station and putting in diesel. It wouldn't work. But if it says .3 or 4, you can use either the 3 or the 4.
So how do I know that people who service my car know what you're telling me?
That is why...
Because I didn't know this.
You didn't know that?
No.
So that is why you using the car, you that the car is for, you should know exactly the brake fluid you are supposed to use. If I'm the vendor, you come to me and you tell me, I'm buying brake fluid. When I turn, I pick brake fluid, I give it to you. But when you tell me I'm buying .3 brake fluid, when I turn, I need to look for .3 brake fluid and bring it out.
I get it.
So it's very necessary you know the particular brake fluid your car uses.
Fantastic.
I talked about the leakages, the smell of a brake fluid. Please, if you can help me.
Smell it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There is a smell.
There is a smell. It's sharp, almost alcoholic kind of.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you're looking for the leakages, you pass your hand through the rims and it's this smell. Please do not move your car.
Oh.
Do not move it. Your brake fluid is leaking. The moment it starts leaking from this tire, it affects all. Your brakes wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Do we understand?
Yes, sir.
So every morning you need to check the level of your brake fluid. It should always be on the maximum. You check this morning, you use the car the whole day. The next morning you check and you see that it's gone down.
So maximum is where this level is? That's the...
Yes, that's the maximum.
Okay.
When you look beside it, you can see they've written max. And when you go down there, they've written mean.
Okay.
It should always be on the maximum.
Okay, great.
When you use it today, the next morning you check and it's gone down. You top it up. Do the same routine again. The next morning it's gone down. Then you should know that there is also a leakage somewhere. It could be internal. That is why if it's external, you will see it drop on the ground. But if it's internal, you cannot know. All you need to do is to inform the mechanic to check on the brake fluid why it's leaking.
Okay. Sure.
It is the most important part of your car. Any other thing can happen to your car. It wouldn't kill you. But when your brake fluid starts leaking, all those names can be added to your name. Obituary, gone too soon, what a shock, all those things. That is what is happening. So many people do not do all this, and we have problems on the road. That is for our brake fluid, which is very important. Everybody should know the kind of brake fluid his car uses. From the brake fluid, we can go to the coolant. Some call it water tank, but it's called the radiator tank. It's called the radiator tank. What we put in there is called coolant, not water. When you put water into this, what you are doing is, one, you are rusting your engine because of oxygen in water. Getting into contact with metal, your engine is rusting gradually. It will be rusting gradually. So an engine which is supposed to last 3-4 years before it goes down, within 1.5 years, your engine is down already. Then you start blaming the one who sold the car to you. Because you are using water, that's the first one. Another thing is water evaporates. So those who use water in their cars, every morning you see them topping up because it has evaporated. The third thing is water has the lowest boiling point, which is 100 degrees Celsius. No matter how you do it, when it gets to its peak, it will boil. It would seem you have overheating, but no, it's the water that is boiling. So we don't put water into cars. What we put in there is coolant. What we put in there is coolant. Coolant comes in colors. It comes in different colors. We can see green here. We can see green here. We also have the red. We also have the blue. And we have the pink. Green, red, blue, and the pink. This aids in cooling down the engine. It aids in cooling down the engine. Depending on the size of your tank, you can buy 2 gallons.
Okay.
That's 4-liter gallons. One could go in the radiator tank, then a little goes into the reservoir.
So you don't pour it here?
No, you don't pour it. You pour some here to this level.
Okay.
It shouldn't get to that level. It should get to this level because the pressure cap covers this side, which will not allow the fluid to come out.
Okay.
Then you put some into the reservoir. So while this is going down, it opens up, then this flows into it.
Okay. Oh, at what level should what goes here be?
There is a level here. You will see F and L.
Okay.
It should always be on the F. It shouldn't exceed F.
Okay.
The space left from the F up here is for heat expansion.
Okay.
It's for heat expansion. If you fill it to the brim and there is overheating, you are going to spoil this reservoir.
Okay.
And I bet you this reservoir, when they tell you the price,
just some misconceptions. Some people say that this colored water is for the Europeans, and that because of the heat in Ghana, you need water and not this coolant.
This is an anti-rust coolant. We also have an anti-freeze coolant. The anti-freeze is what is for the European world. That one because of the snow. When they put it in there and it snows, anti-freeze do not allow the engine to freeze. But the anti-freeze is what we don't use here. But we use an anti-rust coolant, which aids to cool down the engine totally.
Jacob, I want to thank you because I didn't know you put it here, honestly. And when I am checking for the coolant, I never open this side. This is what I do.
Oh, okay.
So 2 things that you've taught me even before we finish is the brake fluid.
The brake fluid.
The fact that you need a specific one for your specific vehicle, and the coolants. So thank you on that note.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And I've experienced the overheating before. That was not too long ago. So I really appreciate what you're taking me through this morning.
Thank you
our
very
viewers
much.
As well, if you're watching closely.
Thank you. With the overheating you talked about, when the car is overheating, please do not open this. When it's overheating, do not open it. All you need to do is to open the bonnet, allow the engine to cool down totally. It could take an hour or more before your engine cools down. You should do that if you really love your car, because when you move, as my boss said, the moment your head gasket is gone, that is it. They are going to replace it. With diesel engines, they don't open it. They will lose its pressure. But with petrol engines, they'll open it, fix a new one. The new one is never going to be like the original. It's never going to be like the original. So you open the bonnet, allow the engine to cool down totally.
Just to add to what Jacob is saying, right? The head gasket is right here, okay? It's a joint between the top of the engine. I'm just explaining it for everybody to have. The top, you have 3 layers. The top, the middle layer, and the down layer. So the gasket is in between the first 2 layers. And when that gasket is gone, believe in me that is the end of your engine. That is why Jacob is saying, never put water in your radiator when you have overheating. Whenever you have any overheating, wait for about 1 hour for the engine to cool down totally before you add any water. Water, because that is what is available, emergency. But then overheating could come from a lot of issues. 1, if you have a leakage in your radiator. 2, your electrical system, if it is not working, and then your fan is not moving. And that is why you have to keep your eyes on your dashboard, so that if you see any movement, any unusual movement of your temperature gauge, you'll have to stop. Don't wait for it to get into the red or it starts to move up. Okay? I always say that the radiator is rather the brain of the engine, because you know, Jacob will explain it to you that it has a different piping system through the engine. Okay, and what it does is that it cools the engine and then comes back to the radiator. The fan will help, as well as the air coming from outside when you're driving. I mean, the air passes through the side and then it cools your radiator. Over to you, Jacob.
Thank you, sir. So we have the inlet hose and we have the outlet. The inlet allows the coolant into the engine to cool it down. Then when it heats up, it passes through the outlet into the radiator tank, whilst the fan moves to cool the coolant down in the radiator tank. One thing we see people doing is, when they have overheating, they call ice water seller. They put a whole sachet, a whole bag of water into the radiator tank. Let's relate it to human beings. When you walk on the sun for a long time and you drink chilled water, what happens? When you drink the chilled water, within a short while you start sweating. That happens to the engine. But because the engine is not able to talk, no one knows it. The moment you put water, chilled, cold water or warm water into it, all you are doing is you are breaking down your engine.
Oh wow, that's just exactly what the mechanic did.
You break it down. What they'll do is they'll be putting in water. They'll tell you, let's drive slowly to the office. He will drive. He gets somewhere, the water goes down, he gets down, put in more water. He continues like that. He's breaking down your engine.
Oh.
When he breaks down your engine, he's going to take money from you before he repairs it.
Wow.
So when your engine has overheating, please do not put in water. All you need is open the bonnet, let the engine cool down. Call your mechanic to come and work on it while the car is overheating before you continue moving. Do not do it small. Let's do it small to my shop.
Yeah.
Put in water, you drive for some distance, you put another water. No, we don't do that.
Okay.
The water is just for emergency. You put it there. When you get home, you need to dilute it again with the coolant.
Okay.
You don't leave it like that.
Okay. So wait, so if you've poured in normal water to the level, how do you do the dilute? Because you don't have to, it doesn't have to come to
There is coolant in it already.
Okay.
There is coolant in it. So all you need to do is to top up with water. When you top up with water and you get there, there is a bypass hose. They need to open a little bit. Then it goes down.
Okay.
Then you dilute it with the coolant again.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Do you understand?
All right. Yeah.
All right.
I get it.
So that is for the coolant and the overheating problem. Another thing we should check that people do not do is our car battery. We always need to check if it's in good condition. Let's look. There is a transparent seal here. You can see a color in there, green.
Yeah.
But when we come here,
do I have to remove that too?
No. Okay. I just want to demonstrate something for them. When we look in here, it's green. When you look at the indicators, it says green means that your battery is okay, it's fully charged. Then when it changes from green to black, your battery has gotten to a stage whereby you should charge it. You need to take it out, give it to those who sell batteries. They have a charger they'll use to charge their battery.
Okay.
Then when it changes from black to white, you need to replace it. The battery can't work again. You need to replace it. But we always advise that the moment it changes from green to black, you can change it. You need to change it. So you save yourself the embarrassment of moving on the road, your car stops.
Okay.
Do we understand?
Yes, sir. I do.
This is what we have to check. Every morning you need to check your battery.
Okay.
You need to check it.
Okay, great. Great. These are things I didn't know, honestly. And again, I think I've experienced all the things that you're telling us this morning. Because I went to work all right, started my car, when I close in, car simply won't start. And I had no idea that I could check this. I called the transport manager.
That is the most embarrassing part of car. If your car is not starting, it's very, very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Another thing we should know about the battery is the terminals. This is the battery terminal, but these are battery poles. It has a positive and a negative. How do you differentiate between the positive and the negative? Let's forget about this. Let's forget about the indications on it. I've covered it with this so that we will not know. Okay. So how do you differentiate between the positive and the negative? The positive pole and the terminal are always bigger than the negative. When you look at the differences, this pole and that pole, this is bigger than that.
Okay.
So it makes this the positive and this negative.
Biggest positive, small is negative.
Biggest positive, small is negative.
Okay.
Another way is the positive terminals sometimes are coated with colors, red, then the negative, black.
Why should I know this, by the way?
You should know it. If you do not know it, for instance, I give you this car, then I tell you, buy a battery and fix into it. You do not know the difference between the positive terminal and the negative. The moment you switch it and you start, it sparks fire.
I've seen people hit stones and other things.
Yes, we are coming to that.
Okay, great.
We do not hit stones or anything on the terminals. All you need is the tool to take the terminal off. We can use spanner to take this off, to loosen it a little bit, then you pull it out. You don't need stones to hit it before it goes there. Whilst you are hitting it, you are spoiling the pole. Whilst you are hitting it, you are spoiling the pole because this is also made of metal. Sometimes you also see people turning it this way. Friction takes place. This is metal, this is metal. They are rubbing each other. Friction takes place. So this will wear off It will get to a time when you even fix it and tighten it well, it wouldn't fit. So we do not use stones or anything on it. Sometimes too, people use things to cover the battery, like tube. They cut tube to cover the battery so it doesn't touch the bonnet. The battery needs air around it. You do not need to cover it. It needs air around it.
Okay. Great.
That is for the battery. Then we come here to, this is a washer fluid. It's a washer fluid for the wind screen. The fluid is also being sold at the loop base.
This is also not ordinary water?
No.
Hey!
Okay. Water is an option. The reason is that the fluid that we put in here is quite expensive. 4 goes into this, which will cost you almost about 200 cedis. 2-3 weeks is gone. Are you ready to feed your car 200 cedis every 2 weeks or 3 weeks just for this? What about the rest? So there is an alternative. Water mixed with liquid soap. The soap shouldn't be too much. We don't need Omo. The Omo particles blocks the tubes where the fluid passes onto the windscreen.
So let's replace that with washing powder.
Washing powder, no.
Okay.
Liquid soap.
Okay.
You put the liquid soap in there, a few drops of liquid soap. Then you put the water to mix up. So you get the foamy nature of the fluid. The fluid itself is like, it's like a soap. Soap is in it. So it helps wipe off the windscreen very well.
So how's that called, if you can afford?
Washer fluid.
Washer fluid.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Washer fluid.
All right.
If you can afford, you buy it.
Okay.
But if you can't, you can put liquid soap, drops of liquid soap, put the water in there to form the washer fluid for you, so it wipes off the windscreen very well.
Should it be full? Very full?
This one has no limit. It has no limit. You can fill it to this side.
Okay.
It has no limit.
All right.
You can fill it to the brim.
Okay, cool.
That is for this one. Another thing I want us to learn about is the alternator.
Oh, that's the alternator.
This is the alternator. The work the alternator does is marvelous. The battery only starts the car for you. When the battery starts the car, it doesn't work again. It goes off. The moment your car is started, the battery goes off. It doesn't work. The alternator takes over. So all the cars we see running is being run on the alternator power, not battery power. That is how come I can start this car. Whilst the car is running, I take off the battery, give it to someone else to start. It's because of the help of the alternator. When the alternator is running the car, at the same time, it charges the battery for you. That is how come our battery is able to last longer. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending on how you treat it. Because anything you do with your engine off takes its power from the battery. Like playing music, when your engine is off, your light is on, whilst your engine is off, picks its power from the battery. That's how come you leave your car light on. By the time you come back, your battery has run down. It's picking its power from the battery. But when you leave your engine on, you are playing music. It doesn't pick power from here, it picks power from here. How do I know my alternator is weak or it's not working whilst my car is parked? When I start my car in the morning, all I need to do is to take off one terminal. When I take off one terminal and the engine goes off, it means that this isn't working, but the car was picking power from the battery. That is why I took off the cable or the terminal and the engine went off. That is one, if your car is parked. Two, when the car is moving, how do I know this is stopped? On the instrumentation panel, which we call the dashboard, most of us call the dashboard, you see a battery warning sign. It comes on, then it goes off. It comes on, then it goes off. It is telling you that this has stopped working, so the engine is picking power from the battery, and the battery is getting weaker and weaker. That is why it comes up and it goes off.
Okay.
So when you see that, quickly you need to stop. Let them work on the alternator for you.
Okay.
Let them work on the alternator for you, and we are good to go.
Okay. Amazing. So if you do this, this is daily.
daily, every morning.
All right.
Every morning. You do that before you start your car.
Okay.
You need to do that before you start your car. Another thing we should also know is about the fuse box, which houses the fuses. It houses all the fuses. When we look at it, there are numbers on it. These numbers are measured in amps. They are measured in amps. Every fuse here has something to do with the engine or the car. When we look here, we can see it. There are so many things written here. We can see ABS, we can see start, that is, we can see the ignition, we can see the wiper. All of them has fuses here. So anytime the fuse blows here, all you need to do is, this is the fuse remover. You fix it this way, you pull it out. If the fuse is blown, please do not allow the electricians to use wires to join it. When they use wires to join it, the wire they are joining, how would you know that it's going to give you up to the number here, 15 amps? It could be less, it could be more. When it's more, it will blow. It will still blow. When it's less, it will blow. Whilst it keeps on blowing, it is spoiling the slots. Then this same electrician will come and tell you, oh madam, your slots are spoiled. We need to change the whole fuse box. Changing the whole fuse box is a whole lot of work because he's going to cut all these cables. He will lift it. There are cables under it. He's going to cut them. He's now going to trace it one after the other. This is going to take like 3 days for him to finish because if he makes mistake in here, your car could burn. That is going to cost you a lot. This fuse is not expensive. The highest this fuse can go now is 2 cedis.
Is it?
Why don't you get more into your car? These numbers, get more. It doesn't deal with the colors, but it deals with the numbers on it. If this is blue, which is 15, and this is yellow, which is 15, and the blue one gets blown, all I need to do is to pick out another 15 and fix it there, regardless of the color.
Okay. Okay. If only we knew. Sometimes we have no idea when they say your fuse is blown. You don't even know what the fuse is. You have no idea that it will cost you only 2 cedis.
It's not expensive. It's not.
Yeah.
So this one thing we should also learn about fuse.
Fantastic. Oh my God. Well, I wonder what. Are we done?
No, we are not.
Oh, okay.
There are a few things we still have to go on.
Okay.
People just do the engine and they are done, forgetting about their brake lights, their indicator lights. The indicator light is for directional purposes. If I want to move left, I show my indicator to the left. So if my indicator light is not working, how do I tell people behind that I'm doing this? When my brake lights are not working, how do people know I'm slowing down or I'm stopping?
Yeah.
So we need to check our lights as well.
Okay.
The brake lights, our indicator lights, our headlights, all this, we need to check if they are working before we set off. You may go out, coming out, home in the night, one of your lights is off. The policeman can stop you. Why is your light off? Why is it off? You are not supposed to drive with one light. If you are driving with one light, a light is approaching, something is approaching and is using one light, it looks like a motorbike. So every car needs 2 lights to drive. So all we need to do is also get spare bulbs. Spare bulbs, our brake lights, the bulb, we can get the indicator light, the bulbs, all in our car. So when it goes off, all I need to do is to drive to a mechanic or an electrician, tell him, boss, my bulb is off, I have a spare one, can you help me fix it? He fixes it. You give him what he has to take, you are gone.
Yeah.
If we are all doing this every morning, checking all this, we'll be safe on the road.
Amen. Jacob, you've made it really easy for me this morning. There's so much that I've learned from just watching and listening to you, and I hope that our viewers have also learned the same, and we will take the precautions. This is not just a show. This is so we can all, stay safe on our roads. I've seen cars get bent, and I've been really, really helpless. Like, there's nothing you can do. You're just watching the car go. Sometimes you sit in the car and it suddenly stops. It won't move again. You have no idea what is happening to the vehicle. I guess these basic checks will help all of us. So Jacob Amomensa is with Top Tech Transport and Logistics. He's helped us this morning with the pre-start checks, daily pre-start checks that we have to do. And of course, Executive Director, Mr. Cecil Gabra. Very grateful to you this morning as well. Thank you so much.
You're very most welcome. I think the next time we'll have to take you to the car itself.
Okay.
And Jacob will take you through a lot of things. Yes, yesterday I mentioned something called tachometer. And then somebody said, what is the meaning of tachometer? So next time you come, we'll tell you what tachometer does and what.
Okay, all right. So the next time we'll have breakfast with Jacob again, this time inside the vehicle itself from Top Tech Transport and Logistics. My name is Mama Viewuswabwaje, roving this morning on the checks that you have to do on your vehicles daily. As part of our Drive Safe campaign, please remain safe on the road.
Well, I guess it's been a learning morning for all of us as far as our vehicles are concerned. So don't you just jump early in the morning into your car and get going. There are things to be done. We'll take a bit of a breather. We'll be back.